crowd there?
What's that?
Are there many people around?
Oh, yeah. Like when we got here, there was just us and another fellow, and that was about an hour and a half ago, and thought, I wonder are we the only ones that know about this spot? And no, about 15 minutes later is when the parade arrived, and so the parking lot is full of this, it's kind of like this work parking lot of this fishing plant. It does say no trespassing, but I think they're being good corporate citizens today and letting everybody use their property to check out this event.
I certainly hope so.
I certainly hope so, too.
If they try to kick you out, do give us a call, okay?
I absolutely will. I think I'll just take the fine, though. Fine me whatever you want. I'm not going anywhere.
Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I hope you have a really special experience with your family.
Thank you so much, Janet. Have a great day.
You too. Joe Stover traveled from his home in Churchill to Windsor, Ontario, and then on to Wheatley, Ontario, to witness the total solar eclipse.
Your local news at your fingertips.
CBC News has a local news app made for your phone or tablet.
So don't waste time scrolling for the local stories you want. Just download the app to get the information that matters to you when it happens.
And how you want it.
Another way to get your local news. The CBC News app. Download it today.
You are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM in the Winnipeg area, and of course everywhere on your CBC Listen app. We do have a mix of sun and cloud today for most of the province. So even though we're only getting a partial eclipse here, we'll see about 50-60% of the sun covered by the moon. Some of us will have a tougher time because there's a little bit of cloud up there. In the Parklands area in Dauphin, it should be nice and clear. Nice and clear today in Thompson as well. Sunny, becoming partly cloudy overnight. Mix of sun and cloud. Low of -2 today in Churchill with a high getting up to 15. So gorgeous day. Same for Brandon, 11 degrees. Another beautiful day. Actually warmer in Thompson, isn't it? The difference? More cloud in Brandon. A high of 11 today and a low of, I think, -6 is how it'll feel overnight with a bit of a wind chill. In Winnipeg today, it's a bit of a mix of sun and cloud. High of 13 degrees. UV index of 3 or moderate. We got to start thinking about sunscreen. And tonight's going to be partly cloudy with a low of 2 degrees. Okay, so it's only a partial solar eclipse here in southern Manitoba. And okay, so we've got some cloud out there, but still a lot of people are excited and the countdown continues. Manitobans are gathering, getting ready to take in today's solar eclipse. As CBC reports, people will gather in Assiniboine Park to watch it.
Excitement is building, but there are concerns about the weather as Manitobans are getting set to take in the partial eclipse here at the Leaf at Assiniboine Park. There's a free viewing party being held this afternoon, and I'm joined now by Dennis Lyons, president of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, Winnipeg Centre. Dennis, thanks for joining us. What can people expect today?
Well, what they can expect is to be able to see where the moon's shadow gradually overcomes the sun, and we figure about 62% coverage today, so it'll be pretty dramatic as it goes along, and it should be a really exciting day as long as the clouds cooperate.
How much of a concern is that for you?
It's a little bit, but it's getting better and better, the forecast, so we're pretty optimistic at this point.
62% you said. What time will that be at?
Approximately 2 o'clock.
So if there's no clouds at 2 o'clock, we're in good shape?
We're in very good shape, yeah.
I just want to ask you about how rare this is.
Well, it happens every year, but it depends on where it's actually located. As far as here in North America, the last one was in 2017, but it's about every 45 years or so. So it's a fairly rare event to be able to observe it locally.
There are some people from Manitoba who we've heard about who've traveled to Niagara Falls in hopes of seeing it into other locations. You decided to stick around here? I
did. I was just wanted to be here to help others to enjoy this and be able to see the event as best they could. But yeah, there's members that are from in Newfoundland all the way down to Mazatlan. So
Do you remember the last one in 1979?
I do. I was actually in BC at the time, so yeah.
Thanks so much, Dennis. That's Dennis Lyons, president of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, Winnipeg Centre. The free viewing party starts at 12:30 at the Leaf at Assiniboine Park.
And that was CBC's Josh Crabb reporting from Assiniboine Park. He was there earlier today. William Prince is, of course, a favorite of people here in Winnipeg. We're going to hear a little bit of his music coming up a little bit in Radio Noon, a little bit later on. Right now, let's check in with Check Up. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau continues to defend the carbon tax, while premiers who oppose the policy are calling for an emergency meeting with the government. On Sunday, cross-country Check-Up asked callers, is climate change an election issue for you? Would the carbon tax affect how you vote? Here's what some callers shared with host Ian Hannah-Mansing.
But what the tax has done over the last 2 years has gotten in the way of governments at all levels having a dialogue to try to fix the problems we have right now. You know, a national strategy on climate change reduction or on helping climate change does not work in all areas. I think that every province has to be able to work with the strengths they've got. You know, in BC, Quebec, Manitoba, it's electric hydro. Alberta, Saskatchewan, we can't take advantage of that.
I've been following this since Mulroney was Prime Minister. We basically, as Canadians, have kicked the can down the road until we ran out of road. Climate change is real. Climate change is going to be very expensive. And yet we still have these arguments about what to do. It's so important to me that if it gets dropped, I won't vote for that party.
I also look at the carbon tax as an investment in the future of our children. When a lot of them are born, we start an education fund. You know, when they hit 16 or 17, this is for university. And so we put into it. So it's 17 years ahead. And I think the carbon tax does that. I think we put in to rely on and to get the benefit of.
I own and operate a single truck running long haul. I have gotten to the point that I'll buy about 35,000 liters of diesel a year in Canada. My tax bill is $1,000 just on the carbon tax. And we live in Alberta and supposedly get these rebates. So I'm funding these rebates to other people. And as I'm concerned, the carbon tax should be reduced and zero rebates to anybody. Like nothing. Take that money and actually do something with it instead of buying votes. For me, like right now, it's to the point, especially with the freight rates and the cost of equipment, I have basically taken myself right out of the domestic Canadian market. I cannot afford to run a business and hauling freight across Canada. Like we haul freight from Vancouver ports to Ontario on a regular basis, and I've walked from it. I cannot afford to pay the tax levels to move that freight anymore. On paper, it's great. In reality, it's not going to work. Not now. 20 years? Maybe, but not now.
So I just turned 18 actually on the 27th of March there. So I'm a young voter, and I feel that the carbon tax disproportionately affects those who are in rural communities and those who are of lower income who either can't afford to get an electric vehicle and then kind of skip over that tax, or those who have to drive such long distances that vehicles don't make sense or that it's too cold to. I think for me, I would like to see reform on the carbon tax. And how are we going to make it so that we're targeting more so big businesses who are making these large carbon investments? And how are we going to take that away from the everyday consumer who's just trying to, pay for gas and commute to work every day?
Those were callers on Cross Country Checkup yesterday on CBC Radio, responding to the question, is climate change an election issue for you? Would the carbon tax affect your vote? That's a big issue for people across the country. Remember, you can download the Checkup podcast to listen to it anytime you want to from the CBC Listen app, or you can go to their website, cbc.ca/checkup. Interesting thing, call-in shows. That is always a fascinating opportunity to hear what people think. It's something we would like to do here on Radio Noon. We're working on reformatting the show so that in the second half of the program, we can hear from you. What's on your mind? What's got you worried, Manitoba? What's got you excited? What do you love about this place? What frustrates you? What do you think needs to change? And do you have any good ideas for making things better? If there's a topic you would like us to discuss, to throw open, and to hear from you, give our listener line a call. Let us know what you think we should talk about. 204-788-3797. 204-788-3797. Send us your ideas, or you can send me an email, janet.stewart, Stewart, @cbc.ca. Right now, let's take a listen to a new recording of an older song by William Prince. He's re-recorded some versions of songs with a company in Nashville. So here is the new version of William Prince's song, Bloom.
I get so tripped up in things that ain't. Guess that's how I justify my pain. Surely I could change my tune. Be better for me, thus better for you. The gears that run this carousel have rust, worn out from old passengers and such. Were we tall enough to take this ride? Let's look within and look outside. Now I can see you didn't need my flowers. You bloom stayed young while I've grown old. Thick as thieves, that in the end wasn't mattered. There was plenty of silver, just not enough gold. Now the hardest part is the letting go. The hardest part is the letting go. Now you can shine, baby, shine, baby, shine. Rest your lungs for a little while. Most of all, let no one choose what's better for me and better for you, yeah. Now I can see you didn't need my flowers. Your bloom stayed young while I've grown old. Thick as thieves, that in the end wasn't matter. There was plenty of silver, just not enough gold. Now the hardest part is the letting go. The hardest part is the letting go. And you can't unsee what your mind sees now. And I'm the best at leaving till I can't turn around. And the truth's been coming for a while, I know. Can't make it bloom, gotta let it grow. Can't make it bloom, gotta let it grow. Now I can see you didn't need my flowers. Your blooms stay young while I've grown old. Thick as thieves, that in the end wasn't matter. There was plenty of silver, just not enough gold. Now the hardest part is the letting go. The hardest part is the letting go. The hardest part is the letting go.
William Prince with Bloom. That's a new version of the song, re-recorded with a Nashville company called Our Vinyl. You can watch the video, a filmed version of that performance, on the Our Vinyl YouTube page. Still ahead today on Radio Noon, CBC's Chelsea Kemp had the chance to chat over the weekend with some of the athletes who competed in a Special Olympics swim meet. We're going to hear some of those conversations in just a few moments, and then we're going to speak with the University of Manitoba coach who's leading the Canadian Paralympic basketball team, the women's team. They're headed to Japan this week, hoping to qualify for the 2024 Paris Olympics. What a big deal that would be. And we'll get you ready for the big partial solar eclipse coming up, about to begin in a little less than a half an hour. Right now, though, it's time for the CBC News.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon. I'm Riley Lachuk. It's 12:30 and 9 degrees in Winnipeg this hour. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds as we head through the afternoon today. Forecast high 13 degrees. A former teacher in Winnipeg has been charged with sexually exploiting a student. Police allege the accused groomed the female complainant and engaged in inappropriate contact on school trips and elsewhere in the city. A 41-year-old woman now faces charges, including sexual assault and sexual exploitation. Louis Riel School Division said in a statement this afternoon that the division immediately removed the woman from the workplace after it heard about the allegations on March the 18th. Well, starting in the next hour, millions of Canadians will be getting a show like no other. It's a total solar eclipse happening that most agree goes beyond science. Here in Manitoba, we get a partial eclipse starting around 12:50 this afternoon. Fred Espenik is a retired NASA astronomer and the agency's lead eclipse analyst.
It's a humbling experience, in my opinion. It gives you a sense of man's place in the universe, and you realize just how small and inconspicuous we really are.
Niagara Falls, Ontario gets the first full Canadian viewing. From there, cities like Kingston, Montreal, and Fredericton are next in line as the event rolls east all the way to Bonavista, Newfoundland. CBC Television has special coverage on air now. Well, for Churchill's Joe Stover, a partial eclipse here wouldn't do. He drove all the way to Windsor, Ontario to get a good view. Stover is set up with his grandmother and uncle along the north shore of Lake Erie near the town of Wheatley.
We were one of the first to show up. And it's gotten considerably busier since, but we've got our view ready, we've got our lawn chairs ready, we've got our solar eclipse glasses ready. We are ready.
Stover says he became fascinated with total eclipses about 20 years ago and vowed that he would see one someday. Country music singer Morgan Wallen has been arrested after police say he threw a chair off the rooftop of a newly opened 6-story bar in downtown Nashville. Wallen has been charged with 3 felony counts of reckless endangerment and 1 misdemeanor count of disorderly conduct. A chair thrown from the bar's rooftop landed on the street about 3 feet away from 2 police officers. The singer has been released from custody and is scheduled in court on May 3rd. And WestJet is adding a new direct flight between Winnipeg and Nashville in September. Also in September, new daily direct flights to Ottawa and Montreal. WestJet Executive Vice President Mike Scott says as a born and bred Winnipegger, he knows the importance of those direct flights for business and leisure.
So we're adding additional service to Montreal to Ottawa. We already had service to Ottawa, so this is increasing our frequency and capacity. And then the Nashville is a brand new route as well. And so from the WestJet perspective, we're continuing to grow.
Scott says the Nashville flights will begin September 16th and will be twice weekly. He says that will run for 2 months and then be reassessed. And that's the CBC News from Winnipeg.
Thank you, Riley.
Welcome to the Noon family.
Well, thank you
Welcome
so
back,
much.
I guess it is.
It's kind of fun to be sitting here my first day with you since the last little while we've been sitting beside each other on the television news
desk.
Just
moved up the clock a little bit here.
That's all we did. Got up a little earlier.
Yeah.
That's just fine. And you'll be back on your regular weather specialist duties later in the week.
Yes, I will.
In the meantime, we enjoy hearing your dulcet tones delivering the news.
I'm happy to be here.
You multi-talented human, you. Thank you, Riley.
No problem.
In the weather today, we are sitting under 9-degree, mostly cloudy skies here in Winnipeg. We are sitting at 9 degrees right now. In Brandon, you've gotten up to 10 degrees already. That's the current condition right now, current temperature. 8 degrees in Dauphin and sunny. Lots of sunshine there, so nothing blocking your view of the partial eclipse that we'll see. Okay, it's a total eclipse, but we just won't see it because of our angle. Again, everybody remember that you're supposed to have the special glasses or some other safety glasses before you can look at the sun. Never look at the sun. Never use your naked eye to look at this thing that's happening this afternoon. Be careful, please. And if you just bought the glasses on Amazon like yesterday or the day before or even last week, people are saying that they may be fakes. They may not be real. So do be extremely cautious before letting yourself or your kids use them to look at the solar eclipse. We're sitting at 14 degrees under a mainly sunny sky in Thompson. We're going to have some cloudy periods in the north. Tonight, a mix of sun and cloud expected tomorrow, and another beautiful warm day up north, 14 degrees. In Brandon tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sun and cloud. It's going to be a little bit cloudy on Wednesday with a 60% chance of showers, actually. Still a warm day, though. 18 tomorrow in Brandon, 13 on Wednesday. Oh, that 18 is going to feel wonderful tomorrow. And then in Winnipeg, we've got our high today of 13 degrees, high tomorrow of 18 under a mix of sun and cloud. And Wednesday is going to be cloudy here with a high of 14 degrees. A University of Manitoba women's basketball head coach is heading off to Japan. She's been given the chance to coach the Canadian Paralympic women's basketball team. They're hoping to qualify for the 2024 Paris Olympics this summer. Michelle Sung is the Bison's women's basketball head coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How did you feel when you found out you were coaching this team?
Super excited, and I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge, but really grateful for the opportunity.
A bit of a challenge. In what way?
I haven't coached wheelchair basketball in a few years, so I think just getting back into that mindset and getting up to speed with where the athletes were at, and then also knowing the really, really tight turnaround time that we had from when I accepted the job to first training camp to the qualifying tournament.
Now, you did meet your team last week for a coaching camp. How did that go?
It was great. Yeah, we had a training camp, and we were able to kind of get familiar with each other. They can kind of get familiar with how I coach, and just for me to get a better idea of where they're at. It was just nice to spend some time together, and they're all kind of in the middle of their current seasons and semesters and work and stuff like that. So it was nice for them, too, to get away from that for a little bit.
For anyone who hasn't seen a wheelchair basketball game, can you describe it for us?
So it would be, if you're a basketball fan, it's the same, 5-on-5. The major difference is athletes have a classification system. So they're assigned a numerical value between 1 and 4.5 in 0.5 intervals. And you can only have 14 total points on the floor all time. So that would be the biggest difference. But other than that, in terms of basketball, trying to get ball in the hoop, 24 seconds to do it, offensive, defensive systems. You can kind of, if you're a basketball fan, it'd be pretty similar to that.
So again, the number system is just, people have different physical abilities.
Correct.
Different mobility.
So they're internationally classified, and they're assessed a number. And for most of their careers, they have the same numerical value.
So how are you feeling?
A little bit of a whirlwind, but I have one really great assistant coach that's been with the group. So it's really nice to have him as anchoring kind of my ideas versus what already works well for this team. So I think that's good. And I think just the opportunity to represent my country again as a coach is something that it really, really excites me, and I don't take for granted. So excitement and gratitude are kind of the two words that are popping out to my mind.
The Paralympics still struggles sometimes to get as much viewership and interest from people as the regular able-bodied Olympics. That's beginning to change. And we're also starting to see a real interest in women's basketball. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's been a great year for women's basketball. I think the excitement, I hope that these athletes and the Paralympic movement kind of gets that same excitement. But I think also, too, just the amount of information, visibility for all sports is really helping. I think it's giving people an opportunity to see people that look like themselves, and then therefore they want to play sports and be more involved. So I think the more variety that we have in terms of the type of sport and the type of people playing those sports is really great for everybody.
So the goal is to qualify for the 2024 Paris Olympics this summer. That's
Correct.
a big goal.
Yes, it is. It is. So we have some experience on the team that has Paralympic experience, so that's super helpful. But we also need to make sure that we play really well in Japan here so that we can do that.
Who are the powerhouses? What countries are you really watching out for?
So the 4 teams have already qualified. So the Netherlands, Great Britain, the U.S., and China have already qualified. So they won't be at this tournament. And then probably the top 2 teams that are there are Germany and Spain. We will play. We start the tournament with the host Japan, and they're also quite good. So, based on from when I originally started coaching 10 years ago, the parity in wheelchair basketball, especially on the women's side, has drastically increased. So that's also great for the game. I think it just makes the product a lot better and a lot of the games more exciting. So that helps.
What would it mean to you and to your athletes to be able to compete at the Paris Paralympics?
I mean, it's kind of, I think, like I told them during camp, like it's a big part of my why. Like I'm a Olympic, Paralympic kind of nerd. I watch everything, every sport, every year, and to be able to be a part of it would really be a dream come true. And these athletes have worked insanely hard. So for them to be rewarded for that is also obviously rewarding as a coach to see, but it's also not the only thing. Like I think there's lots of great things that these athletes do, and if Paralympics gets to be that thing this summer, then that's great.
Are there other Manitobans on the team?
There's one Manitoban, Bethany Johnson,
Where's she from?
She's from Winnipeg.
Ah, there you go. See, we love to cheer for the homegrown folk. Michelle Sung, thank you so much for your time today. Have a wonderful time in Japan.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Michelle Sung is the University of Manitoba Bison's women's basketball head coach.
CBC Sports is your source for sports coverage and insights you won't find anywhere else. Get the athlete's real story on the Player's Own Voice podcast, hosted by Anastasia Busis. Find Player's Own Voice on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. And whether you're a hardcore fan or just looking to hold your own in the conversation, the Buzzer newsletter helps make you smarter about sports. Subscribe today at cbcsports.ca/thebuzzer.
Today's eclipse has different meanings for all of us, and it can be especially significant for the different Indigenous communities across North America, across Turtle Island. Perry Ground is an Onondaga storyteller and cultural educator. He has studied the various stories linked to eclipses.
Native peoples all across North America thought that eclipses were special in some way. So the Cherokee people in North Carolina and Oklahoma talk about it being a giant frog that is eating the sun, and it tells them to make noise and drum and rattle and bang pots and pans to scare the big frog away. Similar stories out in Oregon and southern Oklahoma with the Choctaw, with the Klamath people and the Choctaw people, except some think it's a bear, some think it's a squirrel. The Cherokee, like I said, think it's a frog. You have Inuit stories that talk about a brother and sister chasing each other across the sky. Pomo people who say it's a fight between the sun and a bear. There's trickster stories about why the sun disappears among Algonquians and other people. To the Navajos, it's a very, very sacred and solemn event. And so they don't particularly have stories about it, but they have very specific behaviors that they ask their people to follow in relation to this event. But there's others, the Lakota who say they are star people. And so there's all kinds of star and constellation stories that are important to them, including eclipse-related things. Other peoples like Akamas and their sun dagger story about transformation during an eclipse. There's so many of these different stories among all of Native America.
Perry Ground says for the Haudenosaunee people, the eclipse is a sign of peace. He shares the story behind that.
In the traditional telling of the peacemaker story, the very, very long epic tale of how we were joined together, we talk about the peacemaker, the man who was Wyandot, originally born at the Bay of Quinte in southern Ontario, but came among the people of what we now call New York to spread this message of peace. And so as the peacemaker was traveling from tribe to tribe or nation to nation to try to get them to accept the message, one of the things that almost all of them said was that they wanted proof that his words were true, that he often had these magical or supernatural abilities. And so like among the Mohawks, they cut down a tree that he had climbed up. It fell down over a waterfall, and he survived that fall with no injury. And so to them, this was proof of his extra specialness, that he had this kind of magical or supernatural ability, and that he had protection, if you would, from the Creator. To show the power of his words. And as he traveled from place to place throughout this story, these different tests were given to him. When he came to the Seneca people here in what we now call Western New York, the Seneca people were very, very divided. And he gave them time to think about his message of peace. And he was trying to bring particularly two groups of people back together. And he gave them a year. He told them, I'll be back in one day, meaning in the time of creation, 1 year. And he told them to look to the sky for a signal that his words were true, because they were trying to give him one of these tests. So when he returned to them 1 year later, they were still arguing and couldn't decide if they wanted to join in. And when he arrived to them is when the sun started to disappear. And this eclipse, which we think is the eclipse of 1142 AD, as the peacemaker comes to the Senecas and they see the sun disappearing, they take this as the signal that he told them, look to the sky for a signal, that it's time to stop fighting and to accept the idea of peace. And so as the sun disappears, of course, they're afraid. They don't know what's happening. They lay down their weapons. They tell him that they will accept the idea of peace, and they are then prepared to join in. The Senecas were the last tribe or nation to join in. The Mohawks, Oneidas, the Onondaga people, and the Cayugas had all already agreed to join.
That's Perry Ground, an Onondaga storyteller and cultural educator. Our thanks to reporter Candace Miracle from the CBC Indigenous Unit for sharing that story. About 100 athletes from across Manitoba and Saskatchewan met at Brandon's Community Sportsplex over the weekend to race in the Special Olympics Westman Great Whites swim meet competition. CBC's Chelsea Kemp had the chance to chat with some of the athletes, beginning with Joshua Pereira.
I swim with the North End Shield Swim Club for Special Olympics. I've been a competitive swimmer for almost 13 years.
I'm at the Special Olympics swim meet in Brandon, Manitoba. I'm competing to beat my times and compete against strong athletes and test my strengths and abilities in the water. I feel myself. I can just go out there and by myself and I just go push myself to the limit, and that just gives myself excitement. I traveled from Swift Current, Saskatchewan. We also have 10 swimmers, maybe less than that, but there's a bunch of us here from Swift Current.
There's lots of energy in the building. So there's lots of fans, parents, spectators up top, and even down on the pool deck, the athletes and coaches are cheering. It doesn't matter who the athletes are. People are cheering for everybody that's in the water.
I love the water ever since I was a little girl. It's a great way for people with disabilities, and you could see all kinds of disabilities like autism.
I'm here to compete and do my best that I can. I've done 2. I got 1 more race to go. I started swimming with Special Olympics when I was 12 years old. It helps me with my therapy, as well as it helps me with my social skills, as well as friendships. If I'm going to be racing, I have to, my mindset will have to be like speed. I have a lot of teammates that I have competed with at previous national summer games that I have attended.
I love special O meets just for this reason. It's loud. It's not like your typical swim meet. Everybody's high-fiving each other. Everybody's happy. You're in the water. Even if you beat time or you got disqualification, everybody's happy, still high-fiving. I am at the Special Olympic swim meet in Brandon, Manitoba. I'm competing to beat my times and compete against strong athletes and test my strengths and abilities in the water. I feel myself. I can just go out there and by myself and I just go push myself to the limit, and that just gives myself excitement. I traveled from Swift Current, Saskatchewan. We also have 10 swimmers, maybe less than that, but there's a bunch of us here from Swift Current.
There's lots of energy in the building. So there's lots of fans, parents, spectators up top, and even down on the pool deck, the athletes and coaches are cheering. It doesn't matter who the athletes are. People are cheering for everybody that's in the water.
I love the water ever since I was a little girl. It's a great way for people with disabilities, and you could see all kinds of disabilities, like autism.
I'm here to compete and do my best that I can. I've done 2. I got 1 more race to go. I started swimming with Special Olympics when I was 12 years old. It helps me with my therapy, as well as it helps me with my social skills, as well as friendships. If I'm going to be racing, I have to, my mindset will have to be like speed. I have a lot of teammates that I have competed with at previous national summer games that I have attended.
I love Special O meets just for this reason. It's loud. It's not like your typical swim meet. Everybody's high-fiving each other. Everybody's happy. You're in the water. Even if you beat time or you got disqualification, everybody's happy, still high-fiving. I am at the Special Olympic swim meet in Brandon, Manitoba. I'm competing to beat my times and compete against strong athletes and test my strengths and abilities in the water. I feel myself. I can just go out there and by myself and I just go push myself to the limit, and that just gives myself excitement. I traveled from Swift Current, Saskatchewan. We also have 10 swimmers, maybe less than that, but there's a bunch of us here from Swift Current.
There's lots of energy in the building. So there's lots of fans, parents, spectators up top, and even down on the pool deck, the athletes and coaches are cheering. It doesn't matter who the athletes are. People are cheering for everybody that's in the water.
I love the water ever since I was a little girl. It's a great way for people with disabilities, and you could see all kinds of disabilities, like autism.
I'm here to compete and do my best that I can. I've done 2. I got 1 more race to go. I started swimming with Special Olympics when I was 12 years old. It helps me with my therapy, as well as it helps me with my social skills, as well as friendships. If I'm going to be racing, I have to, my mindset will have to be like speed. I have a lot of teammates that I have competed with at previous national summer games that I have attended.
I love Special O meets just for this reason. It's loud. It's not like your typical swim meet. Everybody's high-fiving each other. Everybody's happy. You're in the water. Even if you beat time or you got disqualification, everybody's happy, still high-fiving. I am at the Special Olympic swim meet in Brandon, Manitoba. I'm competing to beat my times and compete against strong athletes and test my strengths and abilities in the water. I feel myself. I can just go out there and by myself and I just go push myself to the limit, and That just gives myself excitement. I traveled from Swift Current, Saskatchewan. We also have 10 swimmers, maybe less than that, but there's a bunch of us here from Swift Current.
There's lots of energy in the building. So like there's lots of fans, parents, spectators up top, and even down on the pool deck, the athletes and coaches are cheering. It doesn't matter who the athletes are. People are cheering for everybody that's in the water.
I love the water ever since I was a little girl. It's a great way for people with disabilities, and you could see all kinds of disabilities, like autism.
I'm here to compete and do my best that I can. I've done 2. I got 1 more race to go. I started swimming with Special Olympics when I was 12 years old. It helps me with my therapy, as well as it helps me with my social skills, as well as friendships. If I'm going to be racing, I have to, my mindset will have to be like speed. I have a lot of teammates that I have competed with at previous national summer games that I have attended.
I love special O meets just for this reason. It's loud. It's not like your typical swim meet. Everybody's high-fiving each other. Everybody's happy. You're in the water. Even if you beat time, you got deep.
With a coach and some athletes at the Special Olympics Westman Great White Swim Meet in Brandon on Saturday. If you'd like to see the athletes in action, there's a video on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. My name is Janet Stewart. You are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. You can find us on CBC Manitoba's YouTube page. Hi, everybody watching. And also on the CBC Listen app. Sean Taylor Band is out of Winnipeg and has released a debut album. Here's one of the new tunes. It's called Dancing in the Dark.
Will you come with me down by the river? Down by the river, baby, dancing in the dark. There was a time that I thought we'd be forever, kissing and drinking through the middle of the night, watching the water rolling down this lazy river, holding each other always felt so right. And I can't stop thinking about you. I can't see anything wrong if you come with me down by the river, down by the river, baby, playing with my heart. Come with me down by the river, down by the river, baby, dancing in the dark. Your first loving, you ain't my last one either. I thought the day we met that we'd fall apart. I got this feeling, you hear those crickets singing, something is calling for you out in the dark. And I see you thinking about it. I can't see anything wrong if you come with me down by the river, down by down by the river, down by the river, baby, dancing in the dark. And I see you thinking about it. I can't see anything wrong if you come with me down by the river, down by the river, baby, playing with my heart. Come with me down by the river, down by the river. Oh, if you come with me down by the river, down by the river, baby.
That's the Sean Taylor Band out of Winnipeg with Dancing in the Dark. It's off their self-titled debut album, which is out now. I personally am waiting for the self-titled album Faith Fundal Sings, because Faith does sing beautifully. Hello, Faith.
Hello, Janet Stewart. One day, maybe.
One day, maybe, not this day.
Not this day, though. But what we are going to talk about on the show today is more on Children's Hospital Week from today until the 11th. It is the Children's Hospital Week, and we're going to hear from the Children's Hospital Foundation of Manitoba about how it is going to be talking about that week.
Absolutely. And all the fundraising that those foundations do for our hospitals, we're so blessed here in Canada to have, as much as we complain about it, to have the healthcare system we do.
It's one of 170 across the network. So.
Wow. And then the foundations make things so much better by the extra money that people are able to give to.
And I hear that the person might be bringing a bear in studio. So.
Oh, okay then.
So we'll see.
A bear in the studio.
Oh,
you get all the fun. Faith Findall, host of Up to Speed, thank you so much. Of course, you can join Faith today from 3 to 6 p.m. Thank you for joining me today for Radio Noon. I want to thank Riley Lachuk, Kalkadan Mulageta, Chelsea Kemp, Travis Peterson, Dylan Longhurst, who made magic happen behind the scenes, our show producer, Wendy Parker, our senior producer of audio, Leif Larson, and you, most of all, for listening to CBC Radio 1. Thanks for being with us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Coming up next, the next chapter.
Jolene Tadaweo hosts The Block.
Afrobeats to jazz, hip-hop to R&B, calypso, Kez the Band, Michelle Montano, Bob Marley, Bounty Killer. So we really give all these artists a chance to shine, and the key is in the programming, in making it make sense, and making sure that the music is fluid, a fluid experience.